Alright everyone, Old Timer Matt Tom here. Looks like I found my little tree frog. I'm not exactly sure what it is right now, but I'll do another video that includes kind of how I did the turtle. I think it's a Cope's tree frog, but zoom in on him, get a good back pattern. Ooh, too bright. It's been raining a lot. That's probably why he's out. Get a little side profile of him too. See if I'll grab him real quick. Might be a little hard to do one-handed, but nope, doesn't even put up a fight. There he is. Cute little bugger. But I think with it's gonna be hard to do. Whoa! Oh, he's hopping. Well, anyways, what I was gonna say is I think for tree frogs, I need to capture him again, and you have to pull out. Might be able to do this one-handed. Yeah, you want to look at their underside. So there's a good look at his underside. So gotta be gentle with these little guys, but let him hop back up. But there he goes. Come on. Oh, he does not want to hop off. So there he goes. Come on. Come on, little guy. Hop. Hop. Hop over. He says, I don't want to hop. There you go. Make sure to wash my hands. There he goes. Cool little dude with his little sticky pads. Look at that. Oh, climbing away. Well, bye. Alright everyone, just to follow up from the tree frog video that I took. I got my trusty Peterson field guide out, and I'm going to show you guys some things to note when you're trying to identify tree frogs. I said in the video that it was a Cope's tree frog or gray tree frog. I don't believe it actually was, and I'm going to show you some things that between a field guide and some online resources, I believe is actually a Pine Woods Treefrog, which is that guy right up there. So I thought it was this, the gray tree frog. Two of the other tree frogs we have is a green tree frog, Pine Woods, and gray. Those are the most common down here in the Charleston area. Some things to note about tree frogs is you can't just go off of coloration, even with these. Like here, they're just showing this pattern variation, but this book's somewhat old, somewhat dated, and green tree frogs can actually get a mottled pattern just like these Pine Woods. So in it, it's going to note some stuff you got to keep track of, and like the green tree frog, light spot below eye. A lot of these frogs are kind of hard to tell apart from each other, and it's kind of a process of elimination. And the first thing you can eliminate is a green tree frog, because my tree frog did not have this white stripe. All green tree frogs have a white stripe. I'm not sure why it's not shown there, but based on all of my online resources that are much more up to date, the white stripe exists. So since we know it's not the green tree frog, next it might be a gray or a Pine Woods. One way you can tell is the size is much different. So there's not much size difference is what I'm trying to say here, because they can look almost identical, but the gray tree frogs usually are a little bit deeper body, a little heavier. It's kind of showing the picture how these guys are a little bigger. But the biggest part is there was no white spot on my frog. I'm going to show you a side profile as I talk. I'll switch to that now, and you see how that's showing the white dash. Look up a whole bunch of pictures of gray tree frogs. You'll see they're properly identified. They always have a white dot. Same with kind of like the bird voice. These are things you got to know. Now, the final thing is for a lot of tree frogs and peepers, you're going to have to keep track of the thigh patterns on these frogs. And if you noted in my video, I pulled his leg a little bit out. I was real gentle with it. It's not going to hurt the tree frog as long as you're gentle. So you're looking for thigh, and this is why it's important to see, there's my frog. This is why it's important to kind of read your field guide in advance. If you get a field guide, don't just leave it until you need to identify it, because you're going to miss stuff. You never know, what you're going to have to look for when you're trying to identify like a frog out. So I knew that tree frogs, some of them, they're going to have this concealed thigh spot, and you can't see it when they're just sitting. That's why I had to spread it out. And you'll notice in mine, he had these really long white dashes. And that's what this field guy's saying, and most stuff online. You're going to have these small orange-yellow, mine were whitish spots on the rear thigh. These are things you have to pay attention to, because some frogs don't have it. Again, like the field guide says, gray tree frogs and bird tree frogs look similar, but they're a little different. Another thing you can do is, frogs are kind of a unique amphibian because they do a lot of mating calls, and some of them are difficult to tell apart, some of them aren't. And that's kind of what in here, these are known as like the Morse code frogs as well, because they kind of do a dot dash call. You can look up a video on YouTube. I don't have a call of that. Lastly, when you're trying to separate out tree frogs, it's important to check the I don't want to say this. Check the range. If you're up here in Tennessee, it's probably going to be a more than likely green tree frog or gray tree frog. See, gray tree frog's really common compared to the Pine Woods Treefrog, which run the piney woods area. Now, I know this is a little old. They've got these kind of like separate populations, these two X's and maybe a possible population here. Turns out that was, and it kind of comes up here and swoops in there now on the range. And a reminder with range maps is these are rough estimates. As it gets warmer, they could go up this way. As it gets colder, they could come down this way. Or as habitat changes, if there's a huge spot here, there's no more pine woods, the Pine Woods tree frog isn't going to live there. So it's important to kind of keep in mind a bunch of things when you're trying to identify frogs and tree frogs and reptiles in general. But the biggest thing is, get your field guide out, read it beforehand, have an idea of what's in the area, and some of the little tricks to identifying something out, because I'm not going to keep this tree frog in my house for a week before I can come across and identify it. I'm not going to take it home. I might be on a road trip or something. So it's important to be able to take a video like what I do, and then you can go back, rewatch it, and kind of identify it out at a later time.